God, it's me, Margaret.
It's me, Margaret.
Why don't I have my? All right. Check, check. All right, we are. What was that? Take the power rate out of the shot. I mean, I'm already streaming, so they're going to see that stuff. They're going to see that stuff. All right. 3, 2, 1. And for those of you who are watching us live on the YouTubes, you're seeing all of our fuck ups as we set up. By the way, we are an explicit podcast, so feel free to.
Okay, so we can say fuck.
Yeah.
Go
Great.
ahead.
Yeah.
Actually.
Yeah, you can go all into that. So, welcome live from the Eerie Horror Fest. We are glad to be here from the Cinema Psycho Show. We are joined by filmmaker, and I would say, what would you say, just filmmaker?
You asking me?
Yes.
I'm a writer, director,
Writer,
filmmaker,
director,
photographer.
Carter Smith
You know, yeah, that's me.
of the film Swallowed and Ruins too, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
As well as some others.
Yep. And Mark Patton, you might remember him from Nightmare on Elm Street Part 2, and he is also a main character in your film Swallowed, correct?
He is, yeah.
Yeah. So, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, and can you guys, so for Swallowed, can you tell us what is this? Was this film all about? Oh, Same time.
I'll start and then you go, because mine,
Yeah, 'cause
mine
I
is less
don't-
about the story and
Yeah.
like for me the film was all about like making a film that didn't require me to like get financing and get approvals on actors and on
Mhm.
scripts and on and sort of working outside of the system in a way that I hadn't done before with a sort of micro budget crew and like a kind of lean, mean way of filmmaking that I had never done before. And so it was about telling a story that like I could tell that I wasn't going to have to answer to anyone about. And I could cast whoever I want and I could write the characters that I want and I could, kind of be in control the whole way.
Now, your type of films that you've made, at least in reading into some of your films, have been described as body horror. Why
Yeah.
is it you tend to go towards that? Because like for me, I love body horror.
Yeah.
Like the Cronenberg's
Yeah.
films, if you will, like The Fly and
The Brood,
Yeah,
which I saw way too early.
Yeah.
But for me, body horror, I think personally, growing up as a kid in the late 80s, like I was petrified of sex and as a gay kid,
Mhm.
super afraid of sex, disease, my body. I was like horrified that, sex would mean and bodies would mean death to me. And I think that's like deeply, I mean, I think that for most people, like their high school experience kind of never quite leaves them, even if you
No.
kind of pretend like it has. I think that there's certain things that are patterns that you find at that age that kind of never quite leave you. And I mean, that's the only thing that I can figure out. And I like bodies. I mean, and I like horror.
I was going to say nothing. I wouldn't tell you anything about this film. I just tell you to go and see
Go
it.
and see it.
Yeah, it's almost
and
better
see
the
it.
less you know.
Yeah, it's because it'll surprise you. The structure,
Yeah.
the look, it's sweet too, which is always surprising when you get into. I mean, really, I mean by the real definition of what sweet and innocent and kind is, and then to back it up against this horror. I mean, it's it's pretty catastrophic.
When that meets vulgar and
Yeah, no, it is vulgar.
horrific
Yeah,
and like disturbing.
it is
It's a
all
nice-
of those
it's a nice
things.
place where those things
But
meet.
it's like life, It's like if you're out on a back road getting banged by by strangers, it's going to get ugly once in a while.
I
and
mean,
you
I
just
did
have to be-
eventually.
say it's an explicit podcast. So
Yes,
please,
yeah.
by all means.
No, but well, speaking of body horror, Nightmare on Elm Street 2 was very much a body horror.
Oh,
Kind of
yeah.
movie.
Yeah.
And is that what got Mark on your radar in terms of you wanting to work with him? Or
Well, I'd seen Mark obviously in Nightmare on Elm Street 2 back when I was, a kid. And it was very much the first time that I saw someone in a movie that I was like, oh, this guy and I have something in common. Like, I don't know quite what it is yet. I'm maybe too young to figure it out, but like, I see myself in him, and it feels good to see myself in this horror movie that I had never seen anyone that kind of did that in that way.
Yeah.
And then I had seen Scream Queen, and that was really where this started, because I fell in love with Mark the first time as Jesse Walsh, and I fell in love with him all again. When I saw Scream Queen, and so I wrote this
Good.
very much with him in mind. It
Right.
was written for him. This part.
So
I'm always impressed by that, I have to say.
What I wrote it for you?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when I read the script, I thought there was nothing for me in it. I just couldn't imagine.
He was like, I'm too old to play this 19-year-old
Boy.
guy.
I know it was like Betty Davis or something. It's like Robert Englund will always say to me, "Oh, I'm going to direct you," because he's a BS artist. He said, "I'm going to direct you in Tennessee Williams. You'd make a wonderful Tom." And I'm like, "Yeah, if I was playing it in a stadium, it's like I can do a juvenile from 10 miles away." But I said that still flashes through your mind because that's who I was, So the pretty boy was what you looked for in the script, and that
Not-
boy is not here anymore.
Not the backwoods evil drug lord, kind of sleazy villain that
Mhm.
you ended up as.
with a with
with a
a
heart.
with a heart
Yeah.
with
Yeah.
a heart with a heart.
Yeah, with a heart.
What
of
was
course.
your approach, Mark, to playing that character? Because again, a lot of people, from looking at you, they look at Nightmare on Elm Street Part 2, and obviously this role in Swallowed is different than that. So how was your approach as an actor to taking on that role?
Well, I don't really want to say anything.
Well, I don't want to give everything.
Have you guys seen it?
We have not. We want to see
Okay.
it. We're looking
I don't
want
want to give you anything either.
Okay.
It's a big plunge, and I honestly didn't think I could do it.
Mhm.
And so really until I stepped through the door, there was a question of whether I was going to do it anyway. But I had vested myself on, honestly, I'm really blessed and I get anything I want. All I have to do is name it and it comes to me. And that's not bullshit. And I laid a lot of my esteem on the fact that my career was robbed from me. And I knew that I was a good actor. And I could talk about that all day long
Yeah.
because that scene in Nightmare on Elm Street too, I'll put it against anything. The transformation scene in Killing Brady and
I
all
love
that.
that. Love that
It's a
scene.
beautiful, beautiful portrayal. And so I always got to go around and say, "Oh, if I had this, I could do this." And then this dude walked up and said, "Well, here's your opportunity
Here
to
you go.
prove."
Let's prove it.
Right.
And you know what? Without sounding like an arrogant prick, you know what? I go right across the finish line.
Yep.
Read the
Pulled it off,
reviews.
yeah.
Read the reviews. It's like when people talk about reviews, I started reading those reviews and they were like, I wrote them myself. And finally I had to stop reading them because I wasn't used to it. I kept looking for the bad one,
Right.
the really bad one.
Yeah, well, you always look for that one, and then it's
Yeah.
always like super depressing and awful.
Yeah,
when you
and
read
it's
it. You're
usually
like, why
the-
did I do that? And then
It's
you did
usually
it,
the
and then it's
same
too late.
hateful dude too.
Yeah.
I get this one the man that just hates me. But yeah, so I just closed the book and accepted the fact that I've done a really good job and I'm just going to enjoy it instead of picking it apart.
Yeah.
And this film is not explicitly, but kind of implicitly, kind of an LGBTQ horror movie, right?
Oh, it's
Explicit.
It's
Explicit,
There's
explicit,
some explicitity.
'Cause I've seen from some of the reviews that like it's there, but it's not.
Well,
Yeah,
the
well, it's
plot
but
is not-
those people weren't gay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it said
yeah, like it's a weird film that like if you're a gay person, it doesn't need to be explicit because you see yourself in some of these characters in a way that you haven't seen
Right.
before. Like I saw Mark in Nightmare 2, like I think that people are seeing themselves in some of these characters in a way. But on the same hand, like if you're a straight audience, like it's not so gay that you also can't
yeah, it's human.
see yourself. Like
But
that's
there's a
human.
lot of dick. I mean, it's like that's being as graphic as you want. These
Right.
boys are naked. They're unapologetic. There's no apology for what's going on. And the same with the guy that I play. We're not apologizing for him. He exists. You
Yeah.
know,
And he exists in the gay community, and in a lot
In a
of like,
lot of
people
ways.
outside of the gay community might not know him,
right?
but most of us in that community have met a Rich at
Some
one
guy
point or another.
said, if you grew up, 5 stops away from any major town, you've met him, and
Yeah.
you're terrified of him.
But I think
because-
that one of the most interesting things that someone has come up to me after a screening and said, it was a straight guy, and I could see after the screening that he was a little like he was should I go? And his girlfriend was there, and she was like, go. And he came up and he was like, I just want to say, like, I'm straight, dude. I'm straight.
they always
I was
say
like,
that.
okay, you're straight. I get it.
Oh, that's
And
true, bro.
and he's like, but this is the first time that I've seen a movie with gay characters that I actually connected with and felt like there wasn't some big difference between something I might go through and something that they're going through.
Right.
and that was like the best compliment ever.
There's a relationship in this that I will bet money that 95% of the men in the world have had, and won't talk about a lot after it's all over with. But there's something about, like, when you're a certain age, the innocence of boys loving each other and it not being sexual is it happens to almost everybody. And then you have to either pull away from it or lean into it. It never works out because you're 16.
Especially in horror movies.
And in horror movie. But it's a beautiful relationship in this movie, and I think I think everybody will recognize it. They don't need to be gay, straight, whatever. It's just a human thing that's really pretty, and then I come into the movie.
Messes it all up.
Mess it all up.
Have you run into any issues with like ratings boards or anything, like with the bullshit nonsense of, you know, male nudity as compared to female nudity in film?
Not yet.
Yeah.
I mean, not yet. I mean, I
Right.
think that you know, we haven't delivered like a cut of this to like an airline yet. You know, but I mean, I think that's the kind of the beauty of streaming and, you know, having sort of access to stuff. I mean, it's you know, it's not porn. It's not like
Right.
you know, there's no fucking, but you know, there's full frontal nudity and but that's also, you know, on FX and AMC and HBO and
It's a different world.
yeah, people are sort of used to seeing penises in a way that they weren't. like
And
10 years
girls
ago.
demand
get
that.
over it.
Well, yeah, they demanded it at a certain point. I mean, what's good for her is good for him. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? And I don't know why we're so afraid of the penis. It's just like it terrifies so many
Half
people.
of us have it. Yeah.
Yeah, like and complain. I think that's the
And
problem.
more than half of us want it.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly, more than half, exactly.
and most people think they don't have enough. So that's probably what
Yeah.
it's all about right there.
And so this
These
movie,
boys.
yeah, this is just as much a thriller as it is a horror movie. Is that
Yeah.
a fair statement?
Yeah.
Would you say it leans more towards thriller, more towards horror? Or is it just a perfect blend of both?
I think, I mean, to me, it's I mean, I think it's pretty much a horrific thriller. Like, you know, like there's, you know, it kind of turns into like a crime thriller in a way that you might not be expecting if you're expecting, you know, full on like murder and mayhem and gore. Like, it's not that. You know, it's horrific where the story goes. And, you know, hopefully it's surprising and it's, you know, but it's not like a, you know, there's no like crazy.
There's no like chainsaw wielding.
There's no chainsaw wielding.
insane
Yeah,
people
crazy
and-
dead bodies piling up.
But he
Well,
could
there is some-
he could have done that. I mean, he could have like blown his head off and
Yeah.
all that kind of stuff,
Yeah.
and let bugs shoot around the room. It's a more subtle movie than that, and this is, I will say, is a very adult movie, and
Good.
it's like everybody's gonna like it, but it'll give you something to contemplate when you're all finished with it. And it's so beautiful. Like the framing and the way he shoots the faces. It's like, I'm really so excited to be in it. So that's high praise from an actor that he made ugly.
I think you got a future, kid.
Yeah.
But no, just real quick. I know we're kind of getting towards the end here, but you know they'll saying don't work with children or animals, and especially insects.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
What was it like working with?
I mean, our insects were like the mosquito, because we shot in remote northern Maine, and so we were dealing with moose, mosquitoes, black flies. Like that was they weren't in
Outhouses.
Yeah, outhouses.
Yeah.
I mean, luckily we didn't have children or animals.
Did you have to have like an insect wrangler? Like I know hearing about the stories on Hellraiser. Like
we
they
had a crew of 8
cockroach
people.
wrangler.
We had no room
Okay.
for an insect
But
wrangler.
the bugs are like not. We won't spoil anything. For
Yeah.
you. They're really beautiful, and they're hand manipulated, and they're puppets. Really,
Yeah, it was
aren't they?
we had like a little animatronic sort of
You went you went
old
practical.
old
That's
school
awesome.
practical. Yeah,
I
we
love
didn't have any
practical.
digital money on this one.
that's
and we didn't want any.
Yeah, we didn't want any,
We want
like-
the money, but
Yeah.
we don't want to do
Yeah.
digital.
Yeah,
And that's so impressive for, you know, getting a quality piece out like you guys have here for working with just like 8 people, such a minimal set, and you don't have to have 200 people to make,
no.
you know, an incredible film production.
It gets in the
Sometimes
way.
That's a benefit.
Yeah.
To have it.
Well, I think that what he has 8 people in a crew and 4 people in a cast,
Yep.
really, that are really all working at the top of their game, and it's like that small. It lets Jenna, she does her thing,
Jenna Malone, who's
Jenna
also in the
Malone.
film.
And she talks about not getting a payoff. She doesn't get a payoff, but she holds the tension all the way through. And they would have demanded that she have a big scene, or no, she's a good actor. She's at service of the plot. And the boys, Jose, they're wonderful, and they're new, but they're born actors, so they're not pretend. I mean, you know the difference. You see it when they walk in the room. So, and the acting in this is very fine.
Yeah, and the crew was great because I mean that was one of the bars that I talked about with every single person before coming on, was like, okay, we're going to be shooting this, 8 miles off of the paved road in a place without flushing toilets, without electricity, without cell service. Like, are you willing to help us carry cases of water into set? Like, that's the. I think you're the only person that I didn't.
Did you
didn't
make
ask
this
that
legend
up.
use an outhouse?
He did. He did have to use an outhouse. We all did. Yeah.
Yeah.
He had a flushing toilet.
I had a
And
flushing toilet.
at where we stayed. The whole crew had
And
outhouses.
and you can question yourself later. Don't even. But I grew up in the Ozarks, so I know from an
Yeah.
outhouse.
Yeah.
And I hate them.
Yeah, who doesn't? I mean, I
There are
guess
some people.
Yeah, that's true.
you know.
it was an outhouse in a pretty spot, at least. The one
His mother decorated the outhouse.
we shot at. My family has an off-the-grid camp in Maine that my dad built for fishing, and like as a kid growing up, it was the last place I wanted to be. I wanted to like drive to Boston for the weekend, or get to New
Right.
York City, or like be in the movies, or but I've come around to 20 years later being like, oh, that camp would be a really good
That's
place
production
for-
value
yeah, that's
right
production
there.
value. Yeah.
the outhouse is Better Homes and Gardens. I
Yeah.
mean, it's like it's fully, it's an outhouse, but she's really decked it
My
out.
parents are going to be horrified when they see the movie. Let's just say that.
Yeah, well, I think the outhouse.
They'll
needs to
never
be
go
the
to the
set for your
outhouse.
next movie.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, I
You should
think
call it the
Wait till you
outhouse.
see
No,
the
I
movie. It'll
think-
make more sense when you see it.
I
It'll-
think
it
we're
could be.
finished with the outhouse. At least I.
We're moving on with
Yeah.
it. But when can people who are in Erie or in the area who want to come to the Eerie Horror Fest, when can they see this movie at the Eerie Horror Fest?
I believe it's Saturday night.
It's Saturday. I'm looking at it right
Yep,
now.
yep.
So I don't know this. I'm not psychic.
Saturday night at 8:45.
But yeah, Saturday
45.
8:45, and then I believe your film, short film.
Yeah, my first short film is playing first.
Bug Crush
Bug
plays
Crush.
8.
Yeah, which is very much related to Swallowed. They're sort of brother companion pieces.
And for like the Elm Street type of fan, we're going to be Q&A and signing autographs for people on Friday and Saturday and Sunday or something.
Just
But
come
you
to the
can come
just
to
come
the
to the
autograph.
Warner Theater.
It's just
Find
fine.
us.
We'll entertain you.
We'll be around.
I just gotta tell you because you're here. Nightmare on Elm Street Part 2 was the first horror film I saw. Period.
Oh my God.
Amazing.
I was around, no joke, 3 years old,
There you go.
and it's what kind of put me on this track of
You were
being
latchkey
obsessed.
kid, were you? You were watching HBO. When you
Yes,
were
that's
supposed to.
exactly what it was.
Right.
And it was, for the longest time, I didn't know which movie it was, like in the series,
Uh-huh.
but it's the scene where the claws come up through the bed.
Uh-huh.
That scene just stuck in
That's
my
the
brain.
That's the first one. I think that's Johnny Depp. But
No, I think that might have been yours.
oh really?
Yeah, yeah.
My favorite part of that movie is when my little sister's in bed and the glove goes on her, and then you wake up and see it's me, because it's so creepy. you know,
Yeah.
it's so creepy. But yeah, I've learned that because Elm Street was really the hated thing until now, and it's
Yeah.
the dark horse. It's going to win the entire race in the end. It'll be the one everybody remembers.
Last one standing.
Oh yeah, I'm not going to say that because it's horrible. But I almost
This is
said
the
it.
podcast to do it.
Hey, we're
No,
live.
no,
No, don't
true.
know. We're
There's
live.
bets on who's going to be in the future and hopefully
Oh.
the near future who's going to be Mr. Elm Street, and it's like all the girls are like you're going to own the franchise when it's all over. Well, I'm like, yeah, I think I might,
Bring it on.
because I got the will, I've got the will to do it. But what I was going to say is it's so many people's favorite Elm Street,
Yeah.
especially straight guys. And I loved to work because I see thousands and thousands of people, and they come up to the table and they're like they present really like butch and like, hey, I really loved you, bro. And
That's great.
they don't even have to say that. It ekes out of them. And then we step up for the photo op, and I put my hand on their wet back, which is spasming. I mean, they're
They're so
literally
excited
Like
to be
nervous.
here.
they're shaking,
Yeah.
and they love me. you know.
Yeah.
And so the dance is their favorite always. It's like, or me and my
It's hilarious.
yeah, and
Yeah,
it's like
it's
it all worked out good.
Yeah.
for
No,
me.
but I just had to tell you that because I was like, I don't
Well,
want to
thank
end the
you.
show without doing that. but-
Yes, well, thank you. You know what I always say? Don't feel sorry for me. It all worked out just fine.
Yes.
Awesome. Yeah, so definitely check out Swallowed, check out Bug Crush on Saturday. We will be here all weekend as well, so it'll be fun.
It's a plug for us too.
A plug for us, follow us on all the socials at Psycho Show, and we will catch you on our next live event. So thank you, Carter and Mark.
Thank you, psychos.
Thank you.
Thank you.